Hi everyone! Today we're going to be learning to draw a swan, and we're going to play with some shading. So it's going to be a little more advanced, but just go ahead and join in and do what you can. So the first part, kind of like what we did last week, we're going to fold our paper a grid so that we know where to lay down all of our shapes for the swan. So just fold it one way and undo it and fold it the other. You can flatten it out. So to start, you can pick up a pencil, and for this lesson, if you have charcoal or like different kinds of graphite pencils, you can use those as well to create more dimension with darker colors once we get to the shading part. But for now, just pick up the regular pencil, and if you don't have one, have charcoal or anything, then that's fine. I'm just going to use one pencil for the whole thing. So pick up your lightest shade that you have of whatever materials you're using. And then in this top left quadrant, we're going to draw a circle. Sketch out a circle. And then next we're going to draw kind of an oval shape for the body of the swan. So I'm going to start in this bottom left hand and go a little bit into the top left quadrant, and then over to the right, and come down and then curve it and join somewhere over here. And you can make it however big you want. This is going to be your swan's head and this is its body, so just however big you want your swan to be, that's how you can determine it. So then we're going to go on to the neck. You're going to go about halfway through your circle. You're going to draw a line. You can curve it a little bit if you want to get the neck wider towards the base. And then we're going to curve it down to the bottom. And then go to the right edge of your circle and just bring it down to meet that curve. Okay, so then we're going to draw the eye. We're going to do kind of like a pointed oval. So you can make the edges have a little point to them. And then we're going to lay out where the beak is. I'm going to draw a curved line kind of about halfway through the circle and meet it to the top part of the eye. And then down here, right beside where the neck goes, I'm going to draw another curved line to meet to the bottom. And then I'm going to do the beak by going from this line. We're just going to do a slight curve. Curl it under, and then have it meet this line over here. Eraser, or you can use the back of your pencil eraser, but whichever one you want. And then erase this line in the middle. I erased a little too much, so then you can fill in your lines and curve that a little bit. So then you have the beak. Next, we're going to move on to the wings. So I'm going to come over and have it, this first wing, just come off the page a little bit. And then we're going to curve it under and meet about where our center line is. And then I'm going to have another wing overlapping that one. Curve it somewhere around there. And then we'll make it have a nice feather down here. So I'm just going to do a big curve. You can make them however big you want. It's your swan. So then we're going to do the tail feathers, which I'm just going to do a couple of feathers, just ending in a point somewhere around here, however you want to do it. Make them a little bigger or smaller if you want. But all right, so then we're going to erase some of these lines, kind of like what we did up here. Erasing the neck because the neck is overlaying the body, so you won't see the back of the body. And same goes for this feather. And so whenever you're drawing your initial sketch, you want to do it really light so that you can erase like that, and that you won't still see the lines under it. And in case you make mistakes, then you can go back and redo them, and it won't be hard to erase it. So now we're going to move on to shading. This is the fun part. So I'm going to actually start by making a little circle in the eye that can be his highlight. And then I'm going to fill in the eyeball. So we're just going to use a pencil for all of this. And again, if you have charcoal or darker pencils, you can come in and start adding those darker shades. Or you can do it all with the same materials. Just make sure that you're getting a nice contrast. So I'm going to make his eye really dark. As dark as I can make it, besides that one spot in the middle where the light is hitting it. So that it will stand out from the rest of his body. And then I'm going to move on to the beak. And I'm going to do another little highlight here where I'm just going to do a curved line, and under that space I'm going to keep it pretty light. I'm probably not drawing there because I'm having the light come and hit him, so there's going to be some parts that are going to be darker than others based on his shadows, and that giving different dimensions helps show that his beak is not just flat. It helps add some space and depth to the image. So I'm going to go through and kind of make it dark around that line and follow curve. Just meet all the way over there. And then I'm going to make some lighter colors or some lighter shades in the middle. And then you can outline it dark if you want, so that it really stands out. And then some parts are going to be darker than others. Again, the illusion of space, a flat surface, but with shading you can look like it's three-dimensional life. So we're going to make some parts darker than others to make it look like it's actually curved and rounded. And then a fun trick, you can leave it that rough look if you want, but if you want it to look a little more blended, you can either use a blending stick if you have one, or like a tissue, or you can just use your finger and go through and kind of blend all of the blend the gradient together to make it a little more smooth. Your finger is going to get a little black if you use this method, so it's a little messy, but that way you can make it look smoother so it's not as rough. Or you can leave it the way you had it before. And also, if you are playing with charcoal, be careful because it can get really dark really fast and really messy. So next we're going to move on to the head. And the same thing, I'm going to follow my curves through most of this. So I'm just going to do some slight shading around the edges because that helps give the illusion that his head is not just flat. So we're going to start by going on. I'll outline his head a little bit more. And then I'll do a slightly lighter shade on top of that. And then maybe do some small ones over here. Feel free to. And just kind of go wherever it looks like it needs it. So you can add some more shading down here if you want. I'm gonna take this little part away because then he looks angry. But so if you want to really practice shading, it's best to go and like find a picture of a real swan in the light, or if you have a pond, you can go out and look and see how the light bounces off of them. That's the best way to practice is just looking to nature and how light reacts to the objects it's bouncing off of. So I forgot to erase this line earlier. So now we're gonna go down into his neck. And so under here, to make it look like his head is protruding from his neck and it's not flat, we're gonna make this part really dark. So I'm gonna kind of have like a triangle right here where the shadow is going to be cast. I'm gonna make it super dark under here. If you're playing with different colors, then this is where you would use your darkest charcoal or whatever materials you have. And then it's gonna get gradually lighter as it goes out, because his head is casting a shadow under here, so it's gonna be pretty dark. I'm gonna outline his whole neck a little bit more. I kind of like the rough, rigid thing that we have going on here, but again, if you want it to look a little more smooth, then you can go back and blend all of your lines in so that they are a little softer. And so I'm gonna keep shading and just get lighter and lighter the further out I go. I'm gonna kind of follow this curve all the way down. And same thing on the other side. And then we're gonna add a little more down here at the base of his neck and join it somewhere over there. Okay, and then I'm gonna add some darker spots throughout and just kind of sporadic to simulate his feathers, because he's not just all one texture. You can do it however you want. I'm just gonna add some squiggles here and there. Maybe do a bit of blending. Okay, then we can move on to his body. I'm gonna outline this a little bit better and then make this curve really dark, so it's a clear distinction between his body and his neck. And then just shade the rest of it kind of light. Maybe one little darker spot. And we're going to move on to his feather. Again, I'm just going to outline them to make them a little bit darker to pop against our shading. And I'm going to do a little bit around this edge. Make it a little wider once you get to the curve. And it's going to fall into this line. We're going to add a little more texture in his feathers to some places. And some lighter shading down here. His neck is going to cast a little shadow all across his body, so we're going to go all the way down. And whenever you're shading, you're going to want to leave some places just untouched, like we did that up here and in the middle, because the light is going to hit places to where it's going to look completely white. And if you color all the parts in, then it's going to take away from your contrast. You want some really bright spots and some really dark spots to get the message across that there's depth in your image. So then we're going to go onto this wing. Basically with every curve, I'm going to make it a little wider and a little more defined as I go around it. That's the way the light tends to travel. And blend that in a little bit. And I'm going to make this one a little darker to try and balance the image. Since we have really dark spots up here, I want another dark spot down here so it doesn't look weird. Okay, I'm going to take some lighter shading throughout the rest of this wing. And you don't just want one light and then one really dark. We're going to do a medium somewhere in the middle, and it's a gradient. So it's like fades from dark to light. And that's where blending can help make that transition smoother. Give him a few defined feathers. I'm just going to go through and give him a little bit of texture coming off of his neck. Defined. Okay, and we're going to do part of his body. Outline that, and then just kind of follow it with a gentle shading. All the way up to his tail. And also, if you get some on your finger, then you can continue to make a light shade somewhere else. I don't know if that's going to show up on the video, but it gets it a little darker so that you have an even better transition into your light spaces. Some feathers just all throughout. And we're gonna make a little shadow under here because the wing is overlapping this body. And the outline is tail feathers. And give them a little bit of shading as well, just wherever you think it looks good. Make this more defined. This is where it's nice to have charcoal that you can go over with a really dark color or a really dark shade of black to really make your lines pop. But if you're just working with a pencil, you can still make it work. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to his reflection because swans are in the water, right? So he's gonna have a reflection down there. So to give the reflection of the neck, we're gonna just kind of make a cone following the lines of his neck, but we're gonna invert it to where it gets smaller at the bottom. And then just shade that in and do it really light, and we can go back over it later if you want. And you can even do some cross hatching where you shade one way and then go the other, since the water is not very steady. Then we're going to give it a little, make it seem his body. And then for the shadow of his body, we're going to kind of follow his curve, just make it come out a little bit, and then end it around his tail feathers. And so now we're going to make it really dark down here. Body meets the water, there's going to be a huge contrast. So you can go through this whole semicircle pretty light. And then a little ways up, get a little darker. Okay. Changing directions a little bit. Going into strokes. And then get a little lighter. And a little lighter as you come up. Light to dark so that you're not pulling all that dark out into your lighter spaces. So we're going to start up here and then move inward. Okay. That disappeared into his tail. Alright, so now I'm going to make this a bit darker so that it balances with that part. And so right under a little more shade. All right, and then we're going to do the water. So you can do it however you want. I'm just going to do some horizontal shading all the way over the paper. You can go through in one big sweep and do it all, and then go back and add some dimension with some darker spaces. Like I can pretend that maybe there's like a little fish under this patch, or it's a little more shallow over here. And have it meet up with your shadow in the water. And just be careful around your swan so that you don't color him too much. So if you are using, start with a very for this part so that it's a little lighter. Rest in the water later. Just shade in the whole paper if you want. Or if you want him to be right beside land, you could add a little shore over there or something. I'm going to add some darker spots here and there. And then you can go through and shade. This is where it may be good to have like a piece of toilet paper if you can spare it, or a tissue or something to color in the whole image. And so there you go. And you can go back and adjust it however you want. There's your shaded swan. Thanks, guys. Bye.